UFC Mexico this past weekend was simply awesome as Mexican fighters won the final five fights. We're going to get into that. Also, this Saturday night, UFC Vegas 105, Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. Take my money, right? That's a big one. That's a big fight in the featherweight division. We also got some other topics to get into, like everybody wants to know, when is Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall going to fight? Since Alex Pereira's out of the way, when is this fight going down? Also, Conor McGregor retires again. That's right. Conor McGregor retires again. Is it real this time? Is he really going to be a politician? Are you believing this? We'll get into these topics and more next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege.
What up? What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TC MMA podcast, and as you heard in the intro, we got a lot to discuss today. Mexico went wild last night as they ran off the last five fights, winning all five of them. Right? You don't see that too often. We saw that in London a few times, but in Mexico, I mean, the place was rocking last night. Easily the loudest crowd of the year. Make no mistake about it. So we'll get into that. Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy on deck for this Saturday. We got some predictions and full fight previews for you there. We got a couple topics to discuss. But before we go any further, we got to get into one thing real quick, and that's the merch shop, ladies and gentlemen. Got to check out the gear, man. TCMMA podcast.myspreadshop.com. Everything you need. Shirts, hats, matching outfits, different colors, everything. So make sure you get over there. Of course, if you're on YouTube, you'll see those products within the video. We'll also leave the link in the description, both on YouTube and everywhere else. But yeah, those products are coming. And then you'll see in a moment. We didn't actually put it on this one, but don't invite Brazil to the party. You got to check out that gear, right? You invite Brazil into the party, they're going to ruin your night, as we saw at UFC London and different places, right? Bring in other fighters, maybe even some Americans. You know, they might ruin the night too, but for sure, don't invite Brazil to the party because they're going to ruin the night. So check out the gear there. Again, tcmmapodcast.myspreadshop.com. You're going to like all that stuff there and probably get you a few things. You know, we'll be getting a few things here in the near future that we'll show off on the show, of course. Now, let's get into it. Let's not waste any time because Mexico last night was rocking. Sat through a few decisions early in the night, but things really started getting going a little bit in the prelims and then definitely in the main card. So let's jump into first. This is Jamal Emmers with a big finish last night. Ooh, and a big right hand by Jamal Emmers. Is he going to let Miranda up? It's pretty smart. Yes, he does. Misses on a left now. Oh, boy, Emmers is picking it up. Miranda trying to land a takedown. Now Emmers gets the back of the head, looking for an elbow here. And I'll tell you what, I like this Emmers right here. He's being very patient, letting him up, looking like a veteran, man. Oh, another big right. Yeah, this is really slowing Miranda down now. He's got to do something. He needs a takedown bad. Spinning back kick looks slow. And Emmers just being patient. Lands another big right. Oh, an elbow. Okay. Yeah, Miranda's in trouble here. Miranda's in big trouble. And here comes Emmers with another big right. Miranda's one or two punches away, and that's going to be it if he doesn't do something. But he's slowing down. He's losing the bounce in his step. And here comes Emmers. Boy, and I don't know why he's tying him up now. Come on, Emmers. You got to back off again. This is exactly what Gabriel Miranda wants. Emmers trying to get the right arm free, and he just might. Oh, nice knee to the body and a right drops Miranda, followed by some hammers, and that's it. Jamal Emmers with a huge, huge victory over the Brazilian Gabriel Miranda. Wow. Wow. And not sure why he tied him up at the end, but it didn't matter. He still got the finish and looked like a big-time veteran. Jamal Emmers is going to move to 21-8, coming in over a 5-1 favorite. I mean, 33-18 in significant strikes, 24-10 in head strikes. And Jamal Emmers gets the big featherweight division victory by KO. You can call this one a KO, in my opinion. He's 21-8, featherweight division, UFC Mexico City. Yeah, and that was a big one last night, ladies and gentlemen. That was a big one and just an awesome finish for Jamal Emmers. Now, there were a host of other finishes. Like, before you even get into the main card, you had Atiba Gautier, who put on a show last night. This is an up-and-coming fighter with just a few fights at this point. Gautier lands a left jab. And Medina's saying, come on, but he's not looking good here. And a left-right combo. And here comes Gautier. Oh, boy, Atiba lands a big left knee. And that's it. Medina goes down. And we'll see if he protests, but he shouldn't. He does protest, but he got dropped, man. There's no protest needed there. I mean, Atiba Gautier would have gone in and finished him with a few hammers that would have been unnecessary. But the big guy from Cameroon comes in here and gets the KO, and he's going to move to 7-1. Some people might say TKO, but to me, that's a KO because Medina was not getting up. That's the bottom line. And here we see, the big left really starts it, followed by the right. And that's when Medina starts going back into defense, and he waves to him and says, come on, come on. You know, and a lot of time you're trying to trick your opponent there, acting like it doesn't hurt, but it really does. And then it was that left knee. Yeah, dude, that's a KO. Atiba Gautier moves to 7-1 here, middleweight division, UFC Mexico. Yeah, so 7-1 for him. He's looking good. Big finish last night, and that's what you want to see at these things, right? When you're watching, you like to see big finishes. It's like a buzzer beater in basketball, sort of, you know, or at the very worst, a big hit in football. So, you know, that's what you want to see at these things. Although fights that go to a decision could be good too, where guys are just taking and they continue battling throughout. Now, normally we'd probably move on, but, you know, things got crazy down the stretch. Like you had David Martinez and Simon Oliveira going at it. This led to a big finish as well. Nice leg kick there by Martinez. Final minute, round one. As he catches a leg, Oliveira goes down. He gets back to his feet. And Martinez looking powerful early on in this fight. I mean, he continues to come forward, duck punches and kicks, lands a left, and Oliveira's backed up against the fence. And he's got this look on his face like, oh, big right by Martinez. And a knee. Oliveira goes down. The ref doesn't stop it yet. Martinez is on top. He's pounding away with the hammer, and that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. With the big backflip, and they're going crazy in Mexico City. And I'll tell you what, this crowd has been loud all night long, and they had a reason to celebrate now. David Martinez gets the win. He's going to move to 12-1, and that's a KO, not a TKO. I mean, that's a KO with 22 seconds left in the first round, showing respect to his opponent now. But absolute dominant performance, and it's only going to get better for Mexico in the next fight too. So he's over a 9-1 favorite. He should get the win, right? 23-1 in significant strikes, 16-1 in head strikes, and the crowd is loving it here in the bantamweight division at UFC Mexico. Yeah, and that's the way it was throughout the entire main card, especially the last 5 fights. It just continued to get louder and louder as you had Edgar Chairez taking on CJ Vergara. People kind of on both sides of the fence on this one, but Chairez is the Mexican, and he wants to get the crowd fired up. Crowd beginning to pick it up now, chanting for Edgar Chairez and a big right hand. Oh boy, CJ Vergara's in trouble already. And he's saying, everybody calm down, everybody calm down. We'll see. but Edgar is beginning to move with him. And CJ is moving like he's trying to stay away. He's in trouble. He takes a right and a left combo. He goes down. Chairez takes the back. Oh, boy. He's got the rear locked in. Is he underneath? Nope. He's got it locked. More like a crank right now. And look at this. Oh, and he taps. CJ taps. It's over. And the crowd is going crazy. Back to back to back, Mexican fighters get the victory. 2 of them by finish, pretty much in all 3 ways, right? You had the KO, then the decision, now the submission by rear. And Edgar Chairez gets the job done. He's going to move to 12-6 against a very good CJ Vergara from America. So the favorite gets to win here, and Mexico is going crazy. Flyweight division, UFC Mexico. So they continue getting finishes, right? Building up to both the co-main event and then, of course, the main event featuring Brandon Moreno, right? Forget Steve Erceg. I mean, it's featuring, can Brandon Moreno win in front of the home crowd? That's what it comes down to. But before you get there, you had Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober, and this fight did not last long at all. Good start for Manuel Torres here. He's got a big lead and significant strikes already, and just piecing up Drew Dober as he lands a leg kick up high. And Dober's backing up. Torres moving to his right, getting back to the center of the octagon. Got a big right, drops Dober. Look at this. And he's pounding away. Dober's trying to get the takedown. It's not going to happen. He's taking hammer after hammer, and the ref's looking at it, and that's it. Drew Dober is finished. And he's back to his feet. I don't think he knows even what happened. Drew Dober can't believe it. Yeah, I mean, Dober doesn't even realize what happened. He thinks the fight is still going. And I think he's starting to realize now. Now, he was on his knees. After he took the big right, he's on his knees kind of grabbing the leg for the takedown and remained there as Torres was lambing hammers. And then the fight stopped, and he gets back up, and he's ready to go. And it looks like, okay, what's going on here? But the fact is that he's completely finished, and it's evident now. So he must have, come back to, if you will. Yeah, he took the right there. He goes right down. He's still okay right now. And now he starts to land hammers. And let's see. Yep, and there goes the hands. There goes the hands. So it's right there. And then the ref finally comes back in. And that's when Dober kind of is back into it. But here we see the stiff right again. Beam. Wow. Unbelievable. And Mexico is losing their mind as they've won 4 in a row and are just riding high here in the main card. And if Brandon Moreno can win this thing next, it's going to be a huge night for Mexico City and Mexico as a whole. Torres moves to 16-3 in a great lightweight division fight here at UFC Mexico. Yeah, and that's exactly what would happen is Brandon Moreno will come in and get the win. Now, he didn't get the finish, but almost better in this situation, making for a longer night for Mexico, more celebration. He comes in and gets the decision in dominant fashion, 4 rounds to 1, all 3 judges agreeing, which is rare because it could have easily been 48-47. I thought Erceg looked good in rounds 2 and 3, but it was, very close in those rounds as well. So at the end of the day, the Mexican crowd had a lot to cheer for as 5 fighters finished the night with victories, fighting out of Mexico, in Mexico. And that's hard to accomplish. Even if the UFC gives you some fights you expect to win, it's still hard to accomplish. I mean, Raul Rosas Jr., the young 20-year-old phenom who now has like 5 wins in the UFC, barely won, barely escaped in round 3, and got the decision victory. So just an interesting night in Mexico, and good night for us. 9-3 on the night. Took a lot of the Mexicans, and it paid off. We got Brandon Moreno. So we're now on a slight win streak back to 5-6. I know it doesn't sound great, but last year we started 4-7. So 5-6 sounds at least a little better. And hopefully we can get the win this week in the main event, and then we'll be marching forward to UFC Miami, aka UFC 314, in a big battle between Volkanovski and Diego Lopez. I want to be 6-6 for that fight. So we have got to get it right this week. That's the bottom line. Now, before we jump into some of the picks for this week and we break down this card at UFC Vegas 105, it's a good week to be at the Apex Center because you got the Final Four going on. You're battling with that. Your boy is a Duke fan. Duke's playing, so I'm going to be going kind of back and forth a little bit. And I'd rather it be a, kind of an easy setting this week to where I feel comfortable to watch the Duke game and report on UFC. So we're going to do a little bit of that. But listen, let's get into some quick topics that are going on. First, Conor McGregor. As we discussed multiple times, he's got 2 fights on the contract. He's having trouble getting a fight in without agreeing to extend the contract. The UFC does not want him fighting elsewhere, and he can't do so until he fulfills these fights. And the UFC can basically offer him fights that he doesn't want to accept. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes, right? But we have not seen McGregor in the octagon, and the only other choice is to just retire. And he's talking about getting into politics. That hasn't gone well for him before because every time he delves back in, all of a sudden there's like a big news story and he finds himself in trouble. So they're going to continue to dig things up. And if I'm McGregor, well, I guess if you're McGregor, I mean, half the people like you and half don't. So maybe politics won't be anything new. We'll see. But it's just when you have a lot of money, even like a Trump, it's just amazing when these guys want to get into politics. It's like you're getting punched left and right with combinations every day. But McGregor's used to that, so maybe it won't be anything different for him. We'll see. But he's trying to dive into Irish politics, and it's just never easy. Also, Chael Sonnen saying there's a verbal agreement between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. And what does this actually mean? I mean, so what? We know Jon Jones is going to run the clock out as long as he can. He's going to have to fight Aspinall at some point or retire. But Jon Jones hasn't been a champ for almost a decade by fighting every 6 months. I mean, he'll drag this thing out 18 months before it happens. You understand? And so we had to wait like a year to see him fight Stipe. Then the first fight got canceled. Then he finally fights him, and of course he dominates him. And now you're going to spend another year and a half waiting on this fight. This is just what Jon Jones does. So I am not surprised if we continue waiting. And I understand there's a verbal agreement, but that means nothing. We need an agreement on paper and a date, and we don't have that yet. And who knows when we're going to get that. So that's that. I mean, it's real simple. Don't be surprised if this remains a topic for months and months to come. I won't. Now, as we work our way into UFC Vegas 105, you got some big fights here, especially down the stretch. Some big fights down the stretch. And we're going to start with a big one in the middleweight division between Brad Tavares and Gerald Meerschaert. I always like when Gerald Meerschaert fights because he's capable of doing some big things. Right? You can never underestimate him. Now, Brad Tavares is good too, but don't underestimate Gerald Meerschaert as he wins one, loses one, wins one. He's got like over 50 fights in the UFC, I believe. So he's definitely a problem. So let's get into this one. First and foremost, right now. In the middleweight division at UFC Vegas 105, you got Brad Tavares taking on Gerald Meerschaert. This is 20-11 versus 37-18. So all types of experience in this one. USA versus USA in the USA, right? Both guys 6'1", both guys 37. You see the trend here. Meerschaert, 4-inch reach advantage, 78-74. Another fight here in the main card that's opposite stance. Tavares stands right-handed. Meerschaert stands left-handed. And in terms of significant strikes, both guys are kind of below the average, right a little over 3 significant strikes per minute. But Gerald can land takedowns, 2 every 3 rounds. Tavares, 1 every 4. So Gerald's got a little bit of an advantage on the ground. But Tavares, 80% takedown defense. Problem is, even with, not decent stats, stats aren't that good. But his takedown defense is. But he's lost to Jung Yong Park by split decision and Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez by KO in the last 2 fights. Both fights getting into the 3rd round. Obviously, one going to a decision, the other one finished, but, he's had some octagon time in 2024. In 2023, he beat Chris Weidman and lost to Bruno Silva. So he's lost 3 of the last 4. And I can tell you, Mearshart is a problem, but he's got a 42% takedown defense. But when it gets there, he's fine. He did get submitted against Renier de Ritter in his last fight. I had him winning, but I didn't know a lot about de Ritter yet. Now I recognize. But in other fights, like Edmund Shabazian, he submitted him. He submitted Brian Barberina. Lost to Andre Petroski by split decision, close fight. Lost to Joe Pyfer by KO. So you have all these things going on. But I don't really see an angle for Brad Tavares, right? I mean, he hasn't won a fight by finish uh, since April of 2018 against Krzysztof Jotko by KO late in the 3rd round. So I don't think he's a threat to a finish. And I think, you give 15 minutes to Gerald Mearshart, he's going to find a way to get a finish or be in this fight. So I'm going to lean towards a dog here just because I like Gerald Mearshart, right? He got whooped by Hamzat Chimaev back in the day in 17 seconds. But bottom line is this guy is capable of finishing people. That fight there only makes him better. Since then, yeah, and what has he gone since then? Let me break this down real quick. So Hamza was back in 2020. So since then, he's 3-1, 4-1, 4-3, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4 since the Hamza fight. Very active guy. So yeah, I'll take the dog here to get the win and move to 38-18 middleweight division. UFC Vegas 105. Just a ton of experience for Gerald Mearshart. And the ground game is ridiculous. I don't know if Tavares is going to be able to handle Mearshart on the ground if he gets taken down. And being that Tavares doesn't get finishes, it's been what, 7 years? I think eventually Gerald Mearshart's going to get this fight to the ground, and then that's when things are going to get real, very real, and interesting for Brad Tavares. And he could find himself getting submitted very easily. Now, as we work our way up into fight 4, this is a big heavyweight division fight. You got Kennedy Nzechukwu, the Nigerian, big dude, right? It's heavyweight. He's 14-5, taking on Martin Buday, who comes in at 14-2. He's got a pretty solid following. So, this fight is going to get all types of hype coming in. And Kennedy's one of those guys that wins some, loses some. So this is going to be an interesting one and a big one for him. So let's get into it right now. In the heavyweight division at UFC Vegas 105, you got Kennedy Nzechukwu, the favorite, taking on Martin Buday. But is he really a favorite? Is 14-5 versus 14-2 Nigeria versus Slovakia? Let's get into it. Both guys are tall, but Kennedy's 1 inch taller at 6'5". He's 32, Buday 33. Kennedy, as you know, has a long reach, 6-inch reach advantage, 83-77. He fights left-handed. Buday fights right-handed. So opposite stance. Fighters means that power hand is going to be further away from each other. Now, Kennedy 5.4 significant strikes per minute to 4.8 for Martin Buday. Takedown game really non-existent for both fighters. So they're definitely strikers. So there's some KOs possible here. Kennedy also has an 81% takedown defense, and Martin Buday 100%. So 2 strikers with the ability to stop takedowns and keep the fight standing. That's why Kennedy dominated the last 2 fights by KO against Lucchesi Brzezinski and Chris Barnett. So, he's hitting his stride right now. But in early 2024 and 2023, he suffered back-to-back losses against Ovens St. Preux OSP by split decision and Dustin Jacoby, who KO'd him. So 2-2 in the last 4, but 2 wins coming in. Lots of momentum. Now, Martin Buday, 2 fights ago, lost to Shamil Gazia by KO. So he can be KO'd too. Then he beat Andrei Arlovsky by split decision last June. Before that, he won 5 straight fights, entering the UFC. But in a common opponent, Lucchesi Brzezinski, who dominated Martin Buday in the stats, 118-66 in significant strikes. Buday got the split decision win there. But Kennedy KO'd Brzezinski in his last fight. So that might be why he's the favorite here. I like the reach. I like the fact he's won 2 in a row. Buday is a serious competitor, very capable of winning as well. Both guys very capable of landing the KOs, but I'm going to go with the reach and the height and the left-handed Kennedy Nzechukwu to outstrike Martin Buday. Will he get the KO? He might. But if it goes to a decision, he should get the win here and move to 15-5. That's my pick. Heavyweight division. UFC Vegas 105. Yeah, so we got Kennedy winning this fight, but I am worried about his chin. If he gets caught by Martin Buday, that could be a problem. That could end the fight immediately and just wipe out this prediction. But I'm hoping for the length and the reach that he can keep Buday off of him and piece him up and win it that way. So that's kind of how I see this thing playing out. He's capable of getting a finish too. So, I mean, anything can happen really in that fight. Now, as we jump up to the co-main event, I love it because you got back-to-back featherweight fights in both the co-main and main. But in the co-main, you got Pat Sabatini, American, 19-5. Taking on the Brazilian Joe Anderson Brito, who comes in at 17-4. And I say because when I see Brazil uh, underneath the name and I see a record of 17-4, oh boy, let's get into this one right now. In the featherweight division at UFC Vegas 105, you got Pat Sabatini taking on Joe Anderson Brito. And you got to love this one. USA versus Brazil. Sabatini 19-5, Brito 17-4. Both guys stand 5'8". Sabatini 34, Brito 30. Brito has a 2-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Brito 1 takedown per round. Sabatini 2 every 3 rounds, so both guys can land takedowns. Or excuse me, significant strikes. 3 significant strikes for Brito, 2 for Pat Sabatini per minute. So Brito's slightly more active on the feet, but both these guys want to get the fight to the ground, landing over 1 takedown per round. So I wouldn't put too much into the striking numbers, but because again, both guys are going to want to take this fight to the ground. So takedown defense is important. Sabatini 50%, Brito 72%, so that gives Brito an advantage. But the fight is going to go to the ground at some point, right? Sabatini coming off the win by submission over Jonathan Pierce, lost to Diego Lopez, who's fighting for the title, got KO'd by him, beat a good fighter in Lucas Almeida in dominant fashion by submission. So he's had some good experience, 2-1 in the last 3. But the fact that he lost to Diego Lopez is no surprise. He's fighting for the title. Brito lost to William Gomez by split decision. Before that, he beat Jack Shore by KO, submitted Jonathan Pierce. So both guys submitted Jonathan Pierce pretty quickly, right? I mean, Brito, it took him into the second round, but still pretty quick. Now, he also beat Weston Wilson, Lucas Alexander. The list goes on. And this is going to be, or is, a very tough fight to predict. But when it's tough, I got to go with the Brazilian. Because even if it looks close on paper, the Brazilians always seem to find ways to win these close fights. And he's the favorite. Even when they're underdogs, they find ways to win. But when they're the favorite, you almost always got to go with them unless you can find something that says, hey, Pat Sabatini is going to win this fight. And both guys are going to have a good ground game. But Brito's just a little bit better to me. So I like him to win this thing by decision. Avoid submission attempts, but one of them might get a submission. We'll see. It's going to be the ultimate battle on the ground. But Brito wins it to move to 18-4, featherweight division, UFC Vegas 105. Yeah, and the bottom line is the Brazilians have been good to me. That's why we got the shirts. Don't invite Brazil to the party. If it's close, I'm going with the Brazilian, and it usually pays off. It usually pays off. And this happens about 50 times per year. I mean, you're talking about 10 to 20% of the fights involve Brazilians on the road, and it usually pays off. Now, there's some other big fights up and down this card. In fight 3, bantamweight, you got Cortavius Romeus and Chang Ho Lee, who's 10-1 from Korea, right? Really don't know what he's capable of yet. You just got to give it more time. You got Tori Finet. This is a middleweight division fight. He's undefeated at 10-0, taking on Valentin from Switzerland. He's 11-4. O'Day Osborne taking on a newcomer, I believe, in Garuli. He's undefeated at 10-0. Davy Grant and Santos from Brazil. That's a big one in the bantamweight division. So some big fights up and down this card. Welterweight, you got Rice McGee from Ireland taking on Frunza from Romania. So we haven't done these predictions yet. We'll get into that at some point later today. But there's just some big fights up and down this card, and I'm seeing in the first 3 fights of the night, you got Brazilians, including some newcomers. And it looks like there's 3 or 4 women's fights involving Brazilians. So And the Brazilian women, if you didn't know, are just dominating. I mean, what is it? The women's bantamweight, strawweight, or bantamweight? One of the two. Were from 3 to 10. It's all Brazilians. 8 of the top 10 in the world, roughly, are from Brazil. So that's why you hear us say these type of things. Don't invite Brazil to the party. Now, as we move forward here, you got a big one. Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy. How's this fight going to go down? I mean, this is a big one. We're 5-6 in the main event so far in the year, and you say 5-6. Shouldn't you have a winning record? You're making all these predictions. It's tough. It's tough. Now, through the length of the year, we're usually okay, but we hit ups and downs. I mean, we missed on 5 in a row, and now we got back to back, so we're kind of working our way back to 500. So this is a big one. Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy. Which way will we go? Let's get into it right now. In the featherweight division, your main event at UFC Vegas 105, you got Josh Emmett taking on Lerone Murphy, and undefeated. Don't forget that. Undefeated Lerone Murphy at 15-0. He does have one draw. Emmett 19-4. Murphy right now is the favorite, but should he be? He's 3 inches taller at 5'9". He's 33 years old. Emmett is 40. Wow. Wow. But he does have the power, so we'll see. Murphy, 4-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Murphy, more active than Josh Emmett, 4.8 significant strikes to 4 even for Emmett. So you're looking at, 7 to 10 significant strike advantage for Murphy, 2 to 3 per round. That's not a big deal. Now, in terms of the takedown game, Murphy gets like one every other round. Emmett gets one every 3 rounds. And he's only got a 46% takedown defense. That's going to be a problem in this fight, but Murphy just a 48% takedown defense. So these are two guys that can't stop takedowns, which is a big problem. Now, Josh Emmett coming off the win, but this is back in 2023, well over a year ago against Bryce Mitchell, first round KO. You thought you would have seen him since then. He did beat, he lost to Ilia Topuria, who hasn't by decision, just got dominated there. Lost to Yair Rodriguez by submission. And before that, he won 5 fights in a row, which kind of propelled him to the title fight against Yair Rodriguez, beating Calvin Kattar, split decision. Dan Ige, decision. Shane Burgos, decision. Mirsad Bektik and Michael Johnson, he KO'd. So, the guy has a wealth of experience. So does Lerone Murphy, though, beating Dan Ige by decision. Edson Barboza, that's a big one. Decision. And against Barboza, 220 to 79 in significant strikes, 4 takedowns to 0. So, listen, you can go up and down here and see that Lerone Murphy beats everybody. The only fight he had that was a draw was back in 2019, his first fight in the UFC. And, he got taken down 6 times to none at that point in time. But since then, he's run off, 7 straight victories in the UFC. Now, the tough part about this prediction here is that Emmett can land a KO against anybody, right? But he's capable of being beat as well. That's what makes it very difficult. He KO'd Bryce Mitchell, who's a decent fighter, but not quite on the level of Lerone Murphy, obviously. And then he's just lost to Topuria and Yair Rodriguez. So very close fight coming here. But Lerone Murphy has shown time and time again that he can win fights like this. It is a levels fight for sure for Lerone Murphy. But he's shown time and time again that he can win decisions as well, take it to the distance. And he should be able to avoid the KO power of Josh Emmett and kind of wear the 40-year-old down over 3 rounds or 5 potentially in this one to get the W and really just outlast Emmett and point him up. Win 3 rounds, 4 rounds out of 5 to get the victory. That's just how I see it playing out. He'll get some takedowns. He'll look good on the feet. He may lose 2 rounds, but he's going to win the fight to move to 16-0, in my opinion. Got to go with Murphy. Featherweight division, UFC Vegas 105. The bottom line is Lerone Murphy's undefeated. And yeah, Emmett can KO anybody, but I can't go against the undefeated fighter. I just have to ride with him. But the levels situation, when you're going up a level, you really don't know what's going to happen. Because Josh Emmett, yeah, he's getting older, but he's still a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure. But I got to ride with Lerone Murphy. Hopefully he can get the win, take us to 6-6, and then we got the big showdown in Miami at UFC 314. That's coming next week, so stay tuned Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez for the featherweight title. Are we going to return to the past, or are we moving toward the future? That's the question in next week's main event. But hopefully we're 6-6. Lerone Murphy, please, please, please. We need you to get this win. No other fight's important this week, or as important as that one. Listen, that'll do it for now. This is your boy Chris Cross. As always, we hope you have a great day, and God bless.